What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. All right, so President Trump said something today in a press conference, I believe in the Oval Office, to the media. He said something that raised a lot of collective eyebrows. And in essence, he continues to confirm the impression, some will say more than the impression, that he is, in essence, a dictator, wants to be a dictator. And we are in the throes of an authoritarian regime masquerading as a democratically elected president. So look, we all know that Trump, I believe it was earlier this month, deployed the National Guard into Washington, D.C. And there are growing cries from some, underscore some in Chicago, that Trump do the same there, right? But there's a lot more resistance now because I think the DC thing caught people a little bit off guard. There's a lot of political and social resistance to Trump doing the same thing in Chicago. In particular, I believe that the governor of Illinois is totally against it. We all know the mayor, I think his name is Brandon Jackson, is totally against it. So Trump was talking about this today, and the language that he used was very reminiscent of something that a former president from a long time ago said, as far as the imperial presidency or the fears of an imperial presidency is concerned.
So I would have much more respect for Pritzker if he'd call me up and say, I have a problem, can you help me fix it? I would be so happy to do it. I don't love, not that I don't have the right to do anything I want to do. I'm the president of the United States. If I think our country's in danger, and it is in danger in these cities, I can do it. No problem going in and solving, his difficulties. But it would be nice if they'd call and they'd say, would you do it?
So he's talking about the governor of Illinois. I think his name is, it's Elliot Pritzker. I know the last name is Pritzker, but basically, the way Trump is framing it is, he feel like the governor should ask him and be thankful, and basically the protocol should be the governor should request that Trump come with the National Guard and help out with this magical crime wave that's happening in Chicago. Look, I get it. Chicago has a very sordid history when it comes to crime, going back all the way to the 1920s with Al Capone. Of course, now it's more stigmatized to being crime committed by minority, particularly young black men, and use although statistically, as was the case in Washington, D.C., crime is actually down. Now, that doesn't mean when I say crime is down, that crime doesn't exist, because it's like people are hearing two different things. The level of crime in this country compared to other countries is still way too fucking high, right? But crime at the levels it was committed a few years ago is down in just about all areas, except one area. In that area is crimes committed by young people. That is up. But the peak of crime, I'm telling you, the media will have you believing that crime is worse today than it was when I was growing up. It is not. I remember as a kid having to literally dodge bullets playing outside. I remember as a kid having to put a big ass table, help my parents put a big ass table to the back door because we was fearing break-ins. You know what I'm saying? Because it would break through your damn door whether it's locked or not. You know, the only thing that's different about crime today is I would say that there's a lot more senseless crime, like just senseless stuff. But robberies, rapes, murders, no. Crime in the early 90s was absolutely out of pocket. That's why partially, well, that's the main reason, I shouldn't say partially, why that 94 crime bill was passed, because it got bipartisan support because of the feeling that crime was so out of control that they had to do something, the politicians, right? So let me fast forward to now. First of all, there is a such thing as presidential powers being extended in times of emergencies. The first president to really expand the presidency as far as powers are concerned, you could argue Andrew Jackson, but really Abraham Lincoln, because we were in an actual crisis, which was the Civil War. So he gave himself war powers. Another president that expanded the powers of the office after a period of reduced power in the presidency would be Theodore Roosevelt. We also saw expanded powers under Woodrow Wilson. We also saw expanded powers almost on a permanent basis, starting with FDR, okay? But the president that was accused of being the lead or heading an imperial presidency was none other than Richard Nixon, right? Now, in the infamous or famous, depending on how you look at it, interview that he did with David Frost back in 1977, Richard Nixon said this.
Let me put it this way.
Or in this case, illegal.
That's right. Well, let me say that it is legal, in my view.
So what, in a sense, you're saying is that there are certain situations, and the Houston plan, or that part of it was one of them, where the president can decide that it's in the best interest of the nation or something, and do something illegal.
Well, when the president does it, that means that it is not illegal.
By definition.
Exactly.
So Nixon's view was, if it's for him to order a break-in of an institution to seize files that were done, the thievery of files, which were done to preserve national security, then it's legal. Even if the act itself generally would be considered illegal. But if the president does it, then it means it's not illegal, because the president always has the best interest of the country at heart. Now that's the sticking post here. The sticking post here is, are we in a national emergency? Is this Trump sort of warping reality in his need to exercise powers in a way to push this agenda that he has? All right. Now I'm gonna say something too, and I hope that the audience that's listening to this video are mature enough to listen to this video to be at least open-minded. Okay. If it is true that Donald Trump is sicker than what they're letting on, right? If he's sicker than what they're letting on, which I have suspicion that he is, that would explain Trump's relative. I mean, Trump's always been a guy that's very, very inflexible as far as pushing him off stride as far as what he wants to get accomplished, right? But he seems to be extremely focused on doing so much at one time. And I think that's possibly because, you know, he may have had some news said to him about his health that is pushing him to the point where he feel like I have to do so much because I don't know how much time I have. That's just a theory I have of him. You know what I'm saying? I know that, for instance, with Woodrow Wilson, before he suffered that stroke in 1919, that 2-year period before he suffered the stroke, when his atherosclerosis was worsening, those who observed him and his political opponents noticed he became more and more inflexible, less willing to compromise, and it was his way or the highway. And I would argue that you could see that even more so with Trump today. You know, he's always been that type of personality, but now it's like Trump is just hell bent on doing whatever it takes to complete his agenda, even if that is appearing to other people that he's abusing the power of the presidency, which there could be an argument for that he is doing that. Absolutely. So look, man, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen in Chicago. I don't know what the future holds. But I know, me personally, I think that this country is teetering on the brink of becoming an authoritarian / oligarchy, excuse me. That's basically what we are. I don't know the exact right term. We're like an oligarchy / white Christian / nationalist / authoritarian. Not quite all the way there, but we're moving in that direction. And all I know is this: if Barack Obama announced that he was going to use the National Guard to invade, basically that's what they're doing, invading red cities, they'll be rioting in the streets, and Republicans will be drawing up impeachment papers as we speak. I'm just saying. So I'm telling you, man, the Democrats are looking mighty weak. They're looking mighty weak, man. And, they ain't the only ones. But anyway, that's all I got to say about it. Tell me what you guys think.